Hippo actually refers to horse, not big animal that swims in the water. Okay? A hippo actually in Latin refers to horse. So the hippocampus looks like a seahorse, and the amygdala is much larger in women than it is in men. In fact, 2/3 larger in women than in men. Isn't that fascinating? That area, what do you think it would be meant for? If it's 2/3 larger in women than it is in men, what do you think that area is important for? Emotion, and specifically nurturing. That's exactly right. So the ability to nurture, to look at the child and say, you know what? That was really hard to carry you for 9 months and now have you and take care of you day in and day out. To hear you at night crying and wake up out of, wait, I didn't even fall asleep. To go and get you out of the crib and take care of you and change you. All right? That is the amygdala in mom's brain. And in all the girls in here, all the young ladies and the moms, you have an amazing brain that has this amazing amygdala that has to do with nurturing, but also has to do with a recognition of safety and fear. So not only does it nurture, you see the cat and how the mama cat will actually take the litter of cats and move it to a safe place and pack them by the nape of the neck, or the mother dog that will take the little pups and move them to a safe place. That's the amygdala. Okay? The other area that we're talking about tonight is the hippocampus, the seahorse. Have you ever seen a seahorse? Okay? The seahorse, or the hippocampus, is an area of the brain that actually potentiates long-term memory. So as the seahorse works more efficiently, it actually works with creating short to long-term memory. So again, let's try this again. Ready? Everybody with me, okay? Here we go. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 6 times 6 is 7 times 7 is 8 times 8 is 9 times 9 is 7 times 7? 3 times 3? Very good. And here's what's really interesting. The first time we tried to learn that, it was kind of new to us. But the hippocampus actually potentiated that into long-term memory and helped us to recall. Now, here's the interesting thing. When I stay awake all night, has anybody ever stayed awake all night? A few of you have stayed awake all night, okay? When you stay awake all night, your hippocampus cannot recover, and it starts to do what we call atrophy. Okay? So hippocampal atrophy occurs when we stay awake all night or push our bodies so hard that we start to release a lot of a stress hormone called cortisol. Okay? And it starts to actually cause hippocampal atrophy. So as parents, remember when we could recall really quickly information, or when we could remember phone numbers before we had kids? Remember when we were in college and before we stayed awake long nights trying to study, and things just came quickly, and now it becomes more and more difficult, right? That's hippocampal atrophy, right? And if you actually look up hippocampus and MRI on a Google image search, you'll actually see MRI images where there's been atrophy of those areas. Now here's the interesting thing. How many of you like to play video games? Don't be ashamed. A few of you, video gamers, okay? And how many of you playing video games have actually been playing, and all of a sudden somebody comes in and says, do you realize you've been sitting here for more than an hour? Or maybe more than 2 hours? Or maybe more than 4 hours? A couple of hands? Or maybe all of a sudden it's like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, or all night I played that video game? A few of us? Okay? Interesting, because as you do that, the hippocampus is actually getting smaller. Okay? You're actually causing your brain to start to shrink already. And the other thing that happens is this nurturing center, if you're playing a game that has to do with, I'm going to attack you, and I think you're the bad guy, and you are going to attack me, and I'm going to try to get away from you, you actually change your amygdala from nurture to fear and protect. So now you actually change your amygdala that says, Phil, you look like an enemy. I am going to get you. Okay? And now when I'm at school, my concentrator is gone. It starts to go down. My concentrator and my ability to learn from the hippocampus is atrophying. And my amygdala that says, hey, you're my pal. Let's go play out on the playground. And I toss you something. And he catches it, but he tosses it back to me. And I miss, and I'm like, oh, that was terrible. You're so bad. And all of a sudden, my friend becomes somebody that I'm ready to be an enemy. Exactly. I become more and more aggressive. All right? Or my teacher now, that I used to think was just the best teacher, suddenly says, you didn't do as well as I thought you were going to do. And now I hate my teacher and I become hostile. Okay? So isn't it interesting that we can actually train our brains? We can train our brains to say, wow, you know what? I really love life. I really love the things that I'm doing. Or we can actually do things by staying up later and later that make our brains say, oh, I can't get up tomorrow. Or I can't get up at Sunday. Dad, don't make me go. Right? Mom, please, I stayed up all night. Don't make me go. And then all of a sudden it's Monday morning. And now where do you have to go again? Catherine, where do you have to go on Monday morning? Still have to go to school. That's right. And your brain didn't get to sleep all weekend because maybe you were on guard. Now here's the other thing. When we look at the way the brain takes in information, is this getting messy enough yet? Or can you still follow? Let me change it a bit, okay? When the brain, again, takes in information, how many senses do we have? 5 senses. So we have these amazing eyes, okay? They take in information. What else takes in information? Ears. Very good. So the ears take in information. What else takes in information? Taste. So your tongue starts to take in information, doesn't it? Okay? So the tongue takes in information. What else? Okay, nose. Katie, what were you going to say? Nose. We have 2 nosers. Okay? So the nose takes in information, doesn't it? Okay? So if the nose is taking in information, what else takes in information? Huh?
It looks like Megamind.
Megamind, yeah. What else takes in information? Touch. So we have these hands, or even the skin, our hair, everything takes in information, doesn't it? And as we start to take in that information, it has to be perceived in different areas of the brain. Now, isn't it interesting? If, let's see, we're going to have you come up, and let's see how far you can jump from here to there. Ready? Standing, jump. Ready? Now, look at this. He can jump this far with his brain and his body moving him forward. Try it again. Let's see if you can beat your mark. Okay? Ready? Not bad. Now, in that, what's really interesting is the brain had the ability to calculate and coordinate a movement, and he didn't even have to think, how far am I actually going to jump, or can I jump? And then when he jumps, he's able to stay upright because his brain is calculating faster than the computer. Okay, thank you. When we look at this, though, when our brains are calculating on a 2-dimensional image and just looking at a screen, it doesn't have to do that type of calculation. That's a full body movement. Okay? When he does that jump, he's actually using his entire brain, including the cerebellum. But when he's just looking and taking information, Have you ever heard something that starts kind of like this when you hear it? Da 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 dun 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 dun. What is that?
Mario.
Yeah. Have you ever heard it?
Yes.
A few of us, right? And when you hear that, it instantly triggers something in your brain. And then, let's say that we're playing a little more aggressive game, all right? One where you hear the right, and then it gives you a command to do something else, okay? What does that awaken in your brain? Guard, protect, get ready, okay? And the interesting thing that starts to happen is our brain that takes in light and says, oh look, it's starting to be night, actually starts to change the response of a little gland back here in the back of the brain called the pineal gland. The pineal gland, does anybody know what the pineal gland does? Not pituitary, pineal. What does the pineal do? The pineal in the orange plover, okay, out in the middle of the ocean, 3,000 miles away from Hawaii, is the orange plover. The orange plover, when it's an adult, flies from Hawaii 3,000 miles over to another island. Okay? There, the two parents meet, they make a nest,